In a world full of perpetual darkness, Arboria looks to create a unique experience for roguelite players old and new. Hello friends, my name is Kodiak and today we're diving into the realm of Durnar and checking out a brand new game, Arboria. First off, I'd like to thank All In Games for sponsoring this video. We had the chance to play Arboria early, which gave us plenty of time to sink our teeth into the substance of the game. If you want to check out Arboria, there's a link in the description that will take you right to the Steam page. For anyone that doesn't know about this game, let me catch you up to speed. You play as a Jotun, a line of warriors that's sworn to protect your tribe from the dangers of Durnar. Each Jotun warrior will have a number of perks and proficiencies that will enhance your experience. The better you perform while you're dungeon diving, the more powerful your next Jotun will be. As I mentioned, Arboria is a roguelite, so you'll be doing your fair share of dying. For every enemy you kill, root you heal, and crystal you break, you'll collect Veri, which acts as your currency in the game. Each time you die, you'll have the chance to provide a sacrifice to the gods using the Veri you've collected on your run. The more you offer up, the stronger your next Jotun could be. There is still a random component to spawning your next warrior. Even with a maxed out offering, my choices weren't overpowered. Collecting Veri isn't challenging, but safely getting it back up to the surface is. But it's crucial if you want to have any chance of surviving longer runs. At the start of each adventure, the village elder will give you his blessing and send you on your way into the pit. Durnar is filled with a number of strange and powerful creatures. Annoying enemies like the wasps and spitters are a constant nuisance as you try to dodge and roll your way around the area, avoiding the more powerful enemies like the creeper and pillbug. There is a quick ramp up when going from the smaller enemies to the bigger ones. A few hits from a wasp won't cause much alarm, but get hit one too many times by a creeper and you'll be well on your way to a new playthrough. After about 4 hours of playing Arboria, I was a little frustrated with the lack of variety. Enemies are more or less one shade. Everything is created from the same palette, and after a while it all becomes a blur. One of the biggest frustrations is trying to unlock a chest. When activated, you'll have to face a few waves of enemies. Most of the time it's manageable, but sometimes you'll get caught with an unbalanced number of enemies in a room procedurally generated to screw with you. Yes folks, that's right, I said procedurally generated. Each time you drop down into Durnar, your experience will be completely different. I do really enjoy the mini-map integration. It's simple enough that you know exactly what you're looking for without forcing you to spend too much time with it open. The dungeon itself is chock full of interesting features. You have to remember, you're underground, so much of the atmosphere is dark and dreary. Overall, I think the aesthetic is one of my favorite things about the game. For an early access title, the team at Dreamplant Studios is on the right path. They just need to break out of the box. After a while, the dungeons all seem to look the same, much like the enemies. You'll be going through the motions, darting from room to room, and nothing will stand out anymore. I have no doubt that the team will be expanding the world of Durnar in the future, but for now, it's more or less one flavor. I will say that the room variety and layout was really enjoyable. The floors aren't overly big or complicated, and there was enough variety to keep me guessing. At one point, I opened a door to find a creeper standing right in front of me, and I was genuinely shocked. Sadly, not every aspect of the dungeon generation is great. There are a number of traps scattered throughout the rooms that will either hinder your movement or straight up damage you, but they're hard to spot and they don't really enhance the experience. I was constantly taking small chunks of damage, not realizing there was some subtle poisonous flower that was chipping away at my health. Part of the challenge is that the developers don't draw attention to the traps. You either see them or you don't, and they don't give you much of an indication of how or where you took damage. It just kind of happens. Once you do get through the traps and the hordes of enemies, you'll have a few minutes to rest between levels. You'll get the chance to send your Veri up to the surface as well as enhance your character using some sort of specialized contraption. Once you're in the chamber, you'll have to make the choice how to allocate your enhancement. Do you put a point in toughness and beef up your health and resistance? Or perhaps spend a point in strength and give each attack a little more power? Or you could enhance your focus and increase your mana and mana regen. The choice is entirely up to you, but you won't always have each option, so you'll have to choose between what's available. Now, we spent some time talking about the systems that make the game what it is, but what we haven't touched upon is the most important feature in Arboria, the combat. Throughout your dungeon crawling, you'll find a number of weapon mutations that you can equip. At first, you'll only be able to choose one, and that decision is permanent until you find the next available mutation. There are chances to upgrade your mutations back at your village, but unlocking those will take some time. You'll spend most of your early runs using one of the variations of weapon types: axes, swords, and scythe. Each brings something different to the table in terms of power and attack speed. The various weapons all have a cadence, and each player will have to find the weapon that suits their playstyle best. Once I figured out that the scythe was my preferred weapon, my runs started to go much smoother. In addition to your weapon mutation are symbiotes, which fall into the magic or abilities category. You'll be able to use these abilities like Shockwave to stun and damage your enemies, or defend yourself with a magical shield. All of this gets a bit more interesting when you add elements into the mix. There are 3 elements in the game: fire, ice, and nature. Occasionally, you'll be able to merge with the elements and empower your abilities. The element system works using the rock, paper, scissors method, with one element being strong against the other and weak against the other. It's an interesting enough system, but the execution falls a bit flat. You pick up what you find and just hope that the enemies you face take more damage. There's no real strategy to it yet. I'd love to see a bit more development into this aspect of the game because it could add another layer of complexity to Arboria. Sadly, the combat in the game as it stands right now is a bit one-dimensional. You'll dodge roll around like a fiend, avoiding enemy attack after enemy attack, and try and score a hit or two and whittle away at your enemies. It's not exactly perfect, but once you get the hang of everything, it does seem to come together. At some point though, there is a disconnect. You'll want to tackle every crucible, unlock every chest, but you're limited by your ability to heal. You have a few potions that you can use on each floor, but once you do that, your only other option is to find a prayer spot or complete a gauntlet at one of the cursed tree branches. With a little retuning, giving a little more power to the player, I think everyone would feel more empowered during a run. I understand the team is trying to challenge us, but by limiting the ability to heal, it gives us very few ways to get back into fighting shape, and it drags down the overall experience. The combat in the game is decent. Is it the most polished, perfect thing out there? No. But for an early access game with a small development team, once again, they're on the right path. I think the weapon cadence system is really interesting, but it needs some fine-tuning. Using the heavy bone sword should feel powerful if you're going to slow down a player's swing speed drastically. Now on the flip side, items like the scythe feel more in line with what players might expect in 2020. I really enjoy that weapon, and it seems to work well in the scope of the game. Now eventually you'll make your way back to the surface, back to the village where it all started, and there are some really interesting characters here, clearly rooted in the game's strange lore. These fantastical creatures will help you on your quest by providing you the chance to improve with permanent upgrades that persist through death. The game is capitalizing on its clear roguelite roots, and it's a decent system. I'm excited to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. With only a handful of hours under my belt, I feel I've only scratched the surface, but if you're into that slow burn type of progression, this system is for you. Arboria is an exciting twist on the indie roguelite, and for a game that's just hitting early access, I'm impressed with how much it manages to accomplish. Over the course of its EA period, I expect them to drill down on the combat system, expanding it to be more fluid and allowing players a more accessible experience. A lot of the pieces are there, and the things that need work can easily be hammered out through testing and feedback. The lingering question I have is, what am I fighting for? What's the endgame? There is a loose sort of narrative that helps kickstart your journey, but it's not entirely fleshed out. There's a magic hat, a fairy gets slapped, it's all a bit out there. But if you're into that sort of Psychonauts-esque weird vibe, then you've come to the right place. Once again, I want to thank All In Games for hooking Legion Gaming up with an early key to play Arboria and give you some insight into the game. If this is the type of title you'd be interested in checking out, there is a link below that will take you right to the store page. On top of that, if you're looking for a quickly growing gaming community, check us out on Discord. Our Discord is over 3,000 members strong across a number of games, but there is always room for a few new additions. My name is Kodiak, and on behalf of Livid, myself, and the rest of the Legion Gaming crew, thanks for watching, and play on.